I thank the senator from Illinois for letting me go ahead and look forward to his remarks when I'm on. The bill that I hope we get to tonight is part of the president's jobs package, and it would repeal an action taken by the Congress a few years ago that I think has proven to be a harmful decision on the part of the federal government. This would repeal the 3% withholding tax, which has a really dramatic impact on anybody that does business with the government, and that includes local governments, it includes state governments, it includes anyone that contracts with the government, and the government basically just pays 97% of the bill. The president rightly has pointed out that this is one of the things we could do to get more money into the economy, and in many cases simply to create profit where profit is not there otherwise. There are government projects. For many businesses, the profit margin is less than 3% on big projects. And there's only so much work you can do to just stay in the business. And if you're not making money, you can't stay in the business of doing what you're doing. And so for those large projects that have a huge overall number, often the profit doesn't even equal the 3% withholding. And businesses have determined they can't do that. It obviously impacts the bidding process for federal work. The tax revenue generated by this mandate is thought to be only around $200 million a year, and that $200 million left in the economy, left in the bidding process, left in the granting process could make a real difference. The only thing that this job-killing tax increase does is delay recovery and stop us from getting on with the business of making American private sector job creation a reality. The repeal is strongly supported by dozens of groups, including the Farm Bureau, the National Association of Manufacturers, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Federation of Independent Business, the National League of Cities, the corn growers, the Associated General Contractors, the American Trucking Association, Associated Builders and Contractors, the Federation of American Hospitals. And when you think about that group, you've got the Federation of American Hospitals, you've got the National League of Cities, you've got the American Corn Growers. This must be a government policy that has broad impact on lots of different segments of the economy. It's not all that unusual to see the National Manufacturers Association or the Chamber of Commerce or the National Federation of Independent Business on a list supporting a bill, but when they're on the list with the other people I mentioned, plus the truckers and the Associated Builders of Contractors, something must be happening. And why have all of these groups come together and said, let's support this part of that package? Medicare payments to hospitals and individual physicians will be affected when this goes into effect in January of 2013. Medicare payments to individuals and hospitals will have 3% withholding. This causes a lot of cash flow problems for both the physician and for the hospital. Farm payments, even loan deficiency payments, beginning January 1, 2013, you get 97% of the solution, of the partial solution to the problem you already have. Grants for for-profit companies, regardless of whether they're state or federal, will have 3% withheld. Grants, by their definition, are allocated to an entity for a specific purpose, like research. And if you have a research budget that is grant dependent, what happens if you get 97% of the budget? Do you get 97% of the solution, or does that mean you never get to the full solution? What if the grant is for a facility of some kind, or a delivery of a service? What happens when you can only deliver 97% of that? The construction, and again, back to these big construction projects where 3% withholding may be more than the profit. And so, Mr. President, this is one of the pieces of the President's jobs bill that I and others would like to see become a reality, so that people could look out a year from now and not have to begin to plan on what happens when you only get 97% of what you expected it would cost to complete a job or to complete a project. And so I believe, Mr. President, we're going to be able to vote on this later this evening. I think we're going to have that opportunity. I urge my colleagues to vote on it. I think it's one of those things that if we actually let it occur in the 1st of January 2013, people would wonder, why couldn't they figure out during the interim period of time when this was passed, it was going to go into effect, that no matter what the intention was, this will not work. And in a bipartisan way, we should step forward and clarify this problem before it becomes a real problem with real consequences, and probably already having an impact on bidding, on requesting grants, on other things that people are beginning to think about. What happens if this project is agreed to or approved, or our bid is accepted for work that would be done beyond 2012? And so I would yield the floor. I see my friend from Illinois is not here, and until he gets back, seeing no one else on the floor, I would note the absence of a quorum and look forward to Ms. Durbin's return.
The clerk